أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله إن الصلاة ونسكي ومحياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين ربي أوزيني أن أشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علي وعلى والدي وأن أعمل صالحا ترضاه وادخلني برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين اللهم إني على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك ربي أدخلني مدخل صدق وأخرجني مخرج صدق واجعل لي من لدنك سلطانا نصيرا اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم سبحان الله وبحمده سبحان الله العظيم عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومنتهى علمه ومبلغ الرضا اللهم صل وسلم على شفيع المشفع خير خلق الله وعلى الأنبياء والمرسلين وآلهم وصحبهم أهل الله. Respected brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. We thank Allah for His bounty of blessings upon our lives. Today is day 3 of the month of Ramadan. We ask Allah to accept our fast, accept our dua, our ibadat, and everything that we set forth to Allah in this holy month. May Allah accept all our effort, bismillah, and let us meet Him as the one who accepts our good deeds and purify all our intentions, bismillah. Very quickly, we try to move in a good pace today, inshallah. Today's hadith is quite long, but we try to finish up. But very quickly, we lost one of our shuyukhs in Nigeria today. We asked Allah to count him among the shuhada or salihin, and those that have preceded him in the siddiqeen and those that are salihin. He's one of the great scholars who have contributed tremendously to propagating Islam and the legacies of knowledge in Nigeria. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Qul huwallahu ahadun Allahu samad. Lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. You ask Allah to forgive him and descend light upon the graves of all the Muslims and those that might be passing away today too. We don't know. And this is also a reminder for us to know if Allah has kept us alive today, we should do our best. Make sure we do all we do in this month, see if it's going to be our last, because we never know. We ask Allah to grant us tawfiq. Now, moving on, brothers and sisters, yesterday we talked about purifying our intentions and make sure all we do, all our actions are for the sake of Allah in all our prayers, our zakats, our fasting, going to Hajj, and if you're affirming that Allah is one and the Prophet is His messenger, all your actions should be formulated on pure intentions so that Allah can reward you abundantly. And we emphasized very strongly that even if your intention is not clear to people, make sure it is clear to you and it's clear to Allah, because you're only doing what you're doing for the sake of Allah and you're expecting reward from Allah alone. Now, in today's hadith, it's speaking on the fundamentals or the concepts of our religion. In fact, we will narrate the saying. Also, this hadith is being narrated by Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu. He has narrated when Jibril alayhi salatu wasalam came to the Prophet in form of human, and we're going to get to the narration, and he established 3 basic concepts of Islam: al-Islam, wal-Iman, wal-Ihsan. And we try to go through each of these bi-iznillah so that we can have a firm comprehension, and we try to pick up the lessons and how we can implement it to our lives, inshallah. I'm going to read through the Arabic and we're going to translate bi-iznillah. Now, he said, and Umar radiallahu anhu aidan, he said, Umar again as narrated, this hadith is from Umar, qala, بينما نحن جلوس عند رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, while we were seated with the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. Like I said yesterday, they probably be in a circle with the Prophet, and they saw this happening. ذات يوم, one day we were sitting with the Prophet, اطلع علينا رجل, a man came unto us. Like I said, this is Jibril, but it is not evident to them at this point that this man was Jibril. It was at the end of this narration that the Prophet would tell them who the man was. And this is how the Prophet did tarbiyah for the Sahabas. In fact, this is how he trained them. They ask clarifying questions. They are not too forward, right? And the Prophet teaches them what they need to know even without asking. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa alayhi wa sahbihi. Now, he now gave 4 descriptions of this man for us to know he's a stranger in the land and how he is not human-like with his description, right? He said, Shadidu bayadi thiyab. His cloth is purely, he has a white cloth. Shadidu sawadi shad, his hair is heavy. You can see it's clean. As a traveler in the desert, in the Arab Peninsula, for example, it's full of desert. So they are sensing that if this man has come from a far distance or is a traveler, his hair shouldn't be clean. He should have some dust in it. Then he proceeded, he said, La yura alayhi atharu safar. We did not see a sign of traveler in this man. And the 4th one, wala ya'rifu minna ahadun. We don't know him, because the companions, they know themselves. In the circle of the righteous, they know one another. Allah count us among the righteous people and give us a circle of people of Allah, inshallah. Those are the 4 things, right? He doesn't have a sign of a traveler. We don't know him. His clothes is white. His hair is not dirty. He doesn't have a sign of a traveler. Hatta jalasa ila nabi, until this man walked straight to the Prophet and he sat down with the Prophet. They were wondering, what courage does this kind of man has? He saw the Sahaba seated and he just walked straight to the Prophet, bila salam. Then he said, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, فَأَسْنَدَ رُكُبَتَيْ إِلَى رُكُبَتَيْ. Then he connected his knee, he enjoins his knee to the Prophet. That means this is the Prophet seated with his 2 knees, and he walked straight to his Prophet and connected his knee to the Prophet's. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. وَوَضَعَ كَفَّيْهِ عَلَى فَخِذَيْهِ. And this man also was courageous enough he rested his knee against the Prophet's thigh, and he said to the Prophet, he walked straight to the Prophet, he connected his knee to the Prophet, and he walked straight, he connected his thigh to the Prophet as well. Waqal, and this man said, remember the narration is still coming saying a man, it doesn't say Jibril. Like I said, it is at the end of this hadith that the Prophet would tell Umar and the companions that this is Jibril. Then he said, Ya Muhammad, akhbirni an Islam. This is the first questions. He asked the Prophet 4 basic questions, and that is what we want to keep in this hadith. The 4 basic questions, among the questions we have 3 concepts of Islam, right? The first one is to tell him about Islam. And this is where we receive our answer when people ask you about the pillars of Islam or the articles of faith. Now, he said the first thing is فَقَالَ رَسُولُ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ الْإِسْلَامِ أَن تَشْهَدَ أَن لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ وَأَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا رَسُولُ اللَّهِ, to testify that there is no one to be worshipped except Allah, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is his messenger. وَتُقِيمَ الصَّلَاةِ, to pray 5 times daily. وَتُؤْتِيَ الزَّكَاةَ, to give your zakat when it's due. وَتَصُومُ Ramadan, you fast Ramadan. Alhamdulillah, we are fasting Ramadan now. وَتَحُجَّ الْبَيْتِ إِنِ اسْتَطَعْتَ إِلَيْهِ سَبِيلًا, and you go to Hajj, you perform pilgrimage when you are able to. And there is another topic about that fiqh, all the conditions you have to fulfill before you go to Hajj, right? Now, if someone has fulfilled these 5 characteristics that we have recited, these 5 pillars of Islam, then we can testify, we can say this person is what? A Muslim, because he has believed in the 5 pillars that the Prophet has narrated, confirming by Jibril that this is the 5 pillars of Islam. And this is how we know that it was confirmed. He said, Qala saddaqta. Jibril tell the Prophet that you have said the truth. And it was amazing. He said, فَعَجَبْنَا لَهُ يَسْأَلُهُ وَيُصَدِّقُهُ. It is amazing to us. Umar is narrating that we are surprised. Why would someone who is a questioner confirming the answer that was given to him by the questioned? Allahu Akbar. Because it was, if you don't know, then you wouldn't ask. That means he has the knowledge before asking. He just wanted to be apparent to those around the Prophet to learn. That means Jibril has come at that point to teach the Sahaba, to confirm the Prophet, to share the knowledge of the Prophet among the companions. So it was a moment of lecturing for the Sahabas. MashaAllah, what a privilege to which they have. Right, then the second thing he said, Qala fakhbirini anil iman. He asked again, he said, tell me about al-iman, the faith. Then the Prophet said, Qala an tu'mina billahi, number 1, wal malaikatihi is his angels, wa kutubihi. And as a Muslim, you have to believe, he doesn't say wa kitabihi. He used jamu, he used plural. Kutubihi means books, not just one. As a Muslim, you have to believe in all the kutubu samawiyah. You have to believe in Injil, Torah, you believe in the Old Testament, you believe in the Bible, and you believe in the book of the Jew, the one that was sent to Moses, and you believe in the Quran. You have to believe in all the kutubu samawiyah, the books that were descended by Allah, given to the messengers, because all of them call to monotheism, right? Now, the fourth one, وَرُسُلِهِ, you believe in all the messengers. وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ, you believe on the day of judgment. وَيُؤْمِنُ بِالْقَدَرِ, وَتُؤْمِنُ بِالْقَدَرِ, you have to believe in destiny. And this is actually, alhamdulillah, this is actually the reason for the narration of this hadith. We're going to get there. Remember yesterday I said, the same way there is a reason for revelation of Quranic verses, there are also reasons why the sayings of the Prophet are recorded or are collected, right? So these are the 6 pillars of Iman. The first are the 5 pillars of Islam, and these are the 6 attributes of faith. Now, and this was also confirmed by Jibril. He said again, Qala Saddaqta. He said, you have also said the truth. And the same thing, the Sahabas were surprised, right? Now, the third question that was asked, فَأَكْبِرِنِي عَنِ السَّاعَةِ. No, فَأَكْبِرِنِي عَنِ الْإِحْسَانِ. Tell me about ihsan. What does it mean? What does ihsan means? And Jibril responded, قَالَ أَن تَعْبُدَ اللَّهَ كَأَنَّكَ تَرَى. You worship Allah as if you see Him. And the scholars actually explain that al-ihsan is a maqama in the sight of Allah. Is a statue that Allah elevates His people to. Allah help you to worship Him as if you see Him, and it descend the light for you to, you don't see Him, but you have a foresight that because it gives you the khushu in your ibadah, you are concentrated, and you know that if I am in front, you characterize yourself, you have a character that as if you are seeing Allah. So you are very humble and you are very disciplined. So Allah give that to you. And you know, even if you don't see Him, Allah sees you, right? I don't want to divert the topic. Then he said, تَعْبُدَ اللَّهَ كَأَنَّكَ تَرَاهُ فَإِن لَمْ تَكُنْ تَرَاهُ فَإِنَّهُ يَرَاكَ. If you don't see Him, surely Allah sees you, because who doesn't Allah sees? Allah even sees the birds that are flying, right? قَالَ فَأَخْبِرِنِي عَنِ السَّاعَةِ. Remember, that was the third. The first was Islam, the second was Iman, the third was Ihsan. And those are the 3 basic concepts of Islam, right? And that's the main lesson. And the fourth question that was asked was about the day of judgment. أخبرني عن الساعة. And the Prophet said, ما المسؤول عنها بأعلم من السائل. The one who is questioning is more knowledgeable of the question than the questioned, right? The one who is questioning is more knowledgeable of the one who is being questioned. And Allah said, in the Quran, يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ السَّاعَةِ أَيَّامَ مُرْسَاهَا فِيمَا أَنْتَ مِنْ ذِكْرَهَا إِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ مُنْتَهَاهَا. They will ask you about the day of judgment. Tell them, this knowledge is not with me. Allahu Akbar. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam indeed indeed is as-sadiqul amin. Allahumma salli alayhi wa ala alihi. He said, this knowledge does not belong to me. He doesn't say what he doesn't know, because only Allah knows the day about the Asa, the day of judgment. He said, this the one who is even asked is telling Jibril that the one who is, because the Prophet from time, he knows that that was Jibril, but the knowledge of the person being Jibril was not evident to the Sahaba at that point. Then he said, you know more than I know about the question. Then Jibril said, فَأَخْبِرْنِي an amaratiha. Tell me about the signs of this day. What are the signs of, how are we going to know the signs of the ending of the world? In fact, yes, that's the best explanation about it. He said, inform me about the hour, then give me the signs to which when all of these are apparent, or we can see one of these signs, we will know that the hour is getting closer. Then the Prophet said, Qala an talida al-ammatu rabbataha. When you start seeing a slave girl is giving, you start seeing a slave giving birth to his master. And if one listens to this expression, one might be confused. What does it mean for a slave to give birth to his master? The scholars divert on the explanation of this, but the one that stood out the most was the one by Al-Hafiz rahimahullah, Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. He said, when you start, what the meaning of this saying that a slave give birth to his master is that when you start seeing children being disobedient to their parent, they start treating their parent as if they are the one who give birth to them. Because even before time, slavery has been apparent. And now that you start seeing the son of a slave becoming the master of the woman slave, the father who is non-slave will start, as a prince, will start claiming authority on the mom. So there won't be respect. You will start treating the parent badly. So Ibn Hajar said, this is what this statement means, where children, they treat their parents in a way of them being a master, and as a master would treat their slave. That means the children will start treating their parent as slave. We ask Allah to help us treat our parent as right. Rabbi yarhamuhuma kama rabbayani sagir. Then he said another sign is you will see the ones who doesn't have shoes, the barefooted ones. They don't have a job, they don't have a source of income, they don't have an apparent financial accountability. You start seeing people who are naked, the prostitute. You start seeing the destitute. You start seeing the headsmen of sheep. Those who are headsmen, they don't have a strong job that will give them a high income. The Prophet said you start seeing them building tall houses. You start seeing them competing, actually, in fact, in establishing tall buildings that when you raise your head, your cap will fall off. The explanation there is, these people doesn't have enough source of income, but they are doing what is beyond their income. So these are some of the signs that the Prophet said you will see when the Sa'ah is closer. And like he said, yatatawaluna fil bunyan, they will start competing in establishing creations in the heart. You start seeing people going into real estate without having a clarified source of income. So the Prophet is teaching us that we should have a clear source of income, and not be about dunya. You want to build a house like that person built, you want to have this property like that other person. But once your income is halal, fabihi wa ni'ma, there's no problem about that. And then at the ending, alhamdulillah, we are able to complete the hadith. Then after the time, he said, now the man left. Then after Jibril left, then the Prophet said, Qala ya Umar, atadri man sa'il. Do you know who the questioner was? Do you know what the man that came that was asking me a question was? Then the Umar with humility that they have in the gathering of the Prophet, he said, Kultu, Allahu wa Rasuluhu alam. Allah and His Prophet knows best. Then the Prophet said, فَإِنَّهُ Jibreel. That person, that was Jibreel. You know, just I can only imagine what Umar and the other companions there would have, felt on that day. Because as us, as human being, I want to see Jibreel. I want to shake hands with him. I want to know this is Jibreel. You know, Umar would be thinking, why don't you tell us when he was present until you waited when he left? And you are telling us why? Because Jibreel is Wali Rasul, is a friend to the Prophet. That was why he came in a form for him to be able to talk to the Prophet while they were seated. Because Jibreel only came to the Prophet to give him wahy in different characteristics or different forms. But because also he wanted the companion to benefit from such sitting of knowledge, he came in front of him. Wallahu alam. Wallahu alam. And also, they're also able to feel the aura of Jibril's presence. Wallahu alam. Then he said, فَإِنَّهُ جِبْرِيلٌ آتَاكُمْ يُعَلِّمُكُمْ دِينَكُمْ. Alhamdulillah. He said he has come to teach you your religion. Alhamdulillah. So you see, brothers and sisters, the foundation of our deen is completed in this hadith. And we can only ask Allah to increase the blessings of Al-Imam Yahya Nawawi for collecting all of these beautiful hadiths that teaches us how to practice our religion. So we can see the establishment of 5 pillars of Islam in this hadith, the establishment of 6 articles of faith, and we can also see the meaning of ihsan, how to worship Allah as if we are seeing Him. And the scholars explain that this takes process. This maqam, this pillar, is actually when people go up and down. They get there and they follow. They get there and follow. And Allah give us sabit. Then Allah make it easy and you get to the point where you worship Allah as if you see Him. May Allah make us of those people of ihsan, bi-iznillah. So this is the conclusion of this hadith. Alhamdulillah, it was faster than I thought. Imam Muslim is the one who has narrated this hadith. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. So we ask Allah to make us people of ihsan and let us understand what we are teaching. And like I said, the background of this hadith, Al-Imam Muslim that narrated this hadith, he said, during the end life of Abdullah ibn Umar, that is the son of Sayyidina Umar, he said he was told by 2 people that there was a sect of people in Iraq then that, they were called Al-Qadariyah. They were called the people who they don't believe in destiny. They denied Qadar. That was when Abdullah he quoted this hadith to them, confirming that the Prophet has established Qadar as part of faith, that you have to believe in destiny, khayrihi wa sharrihi, the good thing that happened to you and the bad things. Everything has been written in your destiny by Allah, but you can only change it, as the Prophet said in another hadith, that you can change it by making dua. And the one that has been concluded by Allah, those cannot be changed. Like you are a man, you cannot pray to Allah to make you a woman. Those cannot change. But the bad things that might happen to you, if you make Allah, if Allah wish, Allah will waive it for you. Bismillah. Wallahu a'lam. So Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, this is the conclusion of this hadith 2. And we ask Allah to open our hearts to understand beyond how we have explained, and grant us ilman nafi'an. And whatever we have said that is good is from Allah. Whatever we have said that is bad is from our evil of our own self. We ask Allah to forgive us and make us better. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.